Hello, everyone.
Hey!
Welcome to a very special bonus episode, bonus video, whatever you want to call it. We are delighted to be hanging out with the lovely folks who have helped produce, put on, plan, execute successfully Camp Meeple, which we're going to dive into today. Before we get started, though, I would love to introduce all of the folks who joined me. And Rachel from Queen Games, I will start with you.
Hello, my name is Rachel Mullen. I am the Public Relations Director for Queen Games, and I attended the camp this year.
Yay! All right, let's toss it over to Shelley.
Hi, I'm Shelley. I work for Eagle Gryphon Games. I work there as a developer as well as a community manager and also attended Camp Meeple.
Awesome. And Kelly.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I am a game designer and I was one of the hosts of Camp Meeple.
Awesome. And we'll go to the other Rachel. We have two Rachels.
Yes. My name is Rachel, and I also work for Eagle Gryphon Games with Shelley. I do most of the social media managing and do communicate with people on a regular basis.
Awesome. And last but not least, it's Jenna.
Hi, I'm Jenna. I work with Inside Up Games. I am our manager of marketeering, which means I wear a few hats, including Kickstarters, rulebooks, social media. You've probably interacted with me in some form or another, and I was one of the co-hosts of Camp Meeple. Everyone else was being super modest. They did an amazing job helping us host as well, so thank you, everyone, for being part of it. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all the details and share all the excitement that happened during that weekend. I'm Christina Rouse. I'm with Blue Peg, Pink Peg Board Gaming Podcast, and I actually was able to attend the first A.T.O.M, and I'm sure we're going to explain what that is when we get into it. So we're going to jump right in. And because you all attended Camp Meeple, I think what I would love to do is just hear a little more about the inspiration behind creating Camp Meeple and why did that even come to fruition and how did that start? And Jenna, I think you're going to be our point person to kick off with that.
All right, I will start, but then feel free to take the torch from me. So A.T.O.M, as you alluded to, is this organization of three amazing publishers: Eagle Gryphon Games, Queen Games, and Inside Up Games. All of the publishers, and what I love about the board game industry just in general, is they're all so supportive of one another, and we want to be supportive of the people who make the industry what it is and make our games. So all of the publishers, alongside David and Min at Gamers Ranch, they've just sort of noticed that there's not enough representation for women in game. And we have this platform as publishers to do something about it. So we really wanted to create a safe space for new, upcoming, aspiring, or mentors who are women in gaming to get together and play test and share their knowledge with one another.
Yeah. So I know with the Rachels and Shelley having represented the other publishers, is that the same thing you were hearing from them about their hopes by creating this event?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm glad I'm not a liar, so thanks for validating.
Well, and Kelly, being a female designer, what did that mean to you when you were hearing that publishers were considering that this space needed to be created?
Yeah, I was really excited to be part of it. Travis Reynolds from Queen initially reached out to invite me to participate. And when he reached out, he expressed that he noticed a gap in support and visibility for female designers. And he wanted to help remedy that by sponsoring or co-sponsoring this retreat with Gamers Ranch, Eagle Gryphon, and Inside Up. And as a published designer myself, I have seen firsthand all the unique challenges and barriers that female designers face. And so when he approached me about it, I was 100% in on supporting this initiative. So that's kind of how I got involved.
Yeah. And we need to talk just really briefly about the location of where Camp Meeple was held. This is at the Gamers Ranch. And Jenna, you mentioned David, who was gracious enough to support and host this event at the Gamers Ranch. I had the pleasure of going to the Gamers Ranch during the first A.T.O.M for content creators, which was fantastic. But I want to know from you all, having gone now to Gamers Ranch, what that experience was like and what you loved about that space.
I mean, I'll go first. It's a gamer's paradise. You see the pictures and you are so jealous. And let me tell you, you have every right to be jealous because it is the most incredible space that you could ever imagine going to as a gamer. There's pinball machines, miniatures, hundreds of board games, and it's in a beautiful location. And the hosts are just the most incredible, kind people. They just want to share their passions with everyone. So 100%, 1000 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah, I would agree. The pictures, like the pictures are amazing, but they don't even do it justice. It was it was incredible to see like in person. It was fantastic. Had everything you needed and the setting was just gorgeous. It was awesome.
So you have to expect though, whenever when you land, not to land and then go right away. Like it takes 2 hours from the airport to get to this place, but it was great. Like we actually saw bald eagles flying and just like perching like on the little branch, and it was like there were fish everywhere. It was absolutely beautiful for nature lovers who just want to get out there and just have a time away from technology. Now there is like computers and there's some arcades and everything, but it was really nice just to stop being on the internet and stop being on the computer and just hang out with other people and play games. And for me, it was really cool to just meet everyone. And some people that like I've played their games, some of the designers, and not even like it click until like the third day and be like, wait, what? Like you created what? Like I love that game. Like, and it was great.
Rachel, you were going to add something too.
Basically what she said. The eagles were probably my favorite part. The outdoor part was really, really pretty. I could walk outside. I could go fishing. I could watch the fish be fed. I could watch the eagles eat the fish. It was just the circle of life was beautiful. Walking around, I looked for turtles a lot, but I could go inside and play pinball for 30 minutes and then walk back outside and eat lunch on the porch watching the birds. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, the hammocks that they have outside, one of them every afternoon or evening had my name on it. I was there with my book, just like buried in that hammock, like, I'm just rocking. Don't talk to me. Just let me relax. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. I think one of the other benefits of Gamers Ranch is David has a library of, I don't know, 10,000 games on premises. And I know that when we go to a lot of gaming events and conventions, just the idea of like lugging games, right? We only have so much luggage space. How are we going to get our games there? If I buy stuff, how am I going to get home? It's all there for you. And it really they did such a good job of removing all of the worries that you typically have when you go plan a gaming weekend. So I just, again, want to give a huge shout out and thanks to David at the Gamers Ranch. We'll share his website. You can rent it for your own gaming weekends. I know a lot of gamers have gotten married there. They've done tons of events there. So check it out if you're looking for a place that's, kind of central US where people can come and hang out. But to Rachel's point, the road driving in does seem a little sketchy, but you are on the right path.
I mean, like before we left, that was one thing that Randall at Eagle Gryphon Games said to us. He's like, it's going to seem like you're driving into the middle of nowhere or that you're lost, but you're on the right track if you think you're lost. Just keep driving.
The turn
Just keep driving.
At, like the gas station that was like through a parking lot really threw me off. I was a little scared.
Well, and I felt like our car wasn't going to make it. Like on one of the hills, I was like,
really
okay,
gravelly.
it's okay. You keep going.
But then the trees part and you like arrive at Gamers Ranch and
I grew up in a small town, so when we were driving like on these back roads, I was like, oh, this is like back home when I was a kid driving a Sunday drive to look at the leaves changing. So it wasn't totally bizarre, but when it kept going on and on, I was like, maybe.
That's awesome. So I would love to hear from each of you kind of as you were brought into the planning of Camp Meeple, kind of what inspired you with what you were seeing that was going to be offered, what got you excited for the attendees that were going to come and participate, and then we'll get into like what we actually did for Gamers Ranch and share about that. So Kelly, I'll start with you. Talk a little bit about the planning and how that evolved into what you all were able to offer.
Well, I was one of the co-hosts, so me and Jenna were kind of in charge of the planning. And there was actually a lot to do. I was surprised. We handled most of the logistics together, from selecting the attendees, which was probably one of the hardest things in the whole process because we could only have so many people and we had so many amazing applicants. That was just really hard to do, narrow those down. Inviting mentors, grocery shopping, planning the activities, setting schedules of events. There was quite a bit. But I would like to add that working with Jenna was an absolute blast. She is a total rock star. So it was a lot there was a lot of planning, but it was a lot of fun. The process was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And Shelley and Rachel, I'm just going to, should I say the Rachels or the Rachel show?
Totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I like Rachel. So
from the publisher side of this being brought in, what were your hopes and anticipations for what your role would be throughout that weekend?
I was just excited to meet people. I didn't realize that I would be rooming with one of the designers from Wormspan. I thought that was cool. I picked up a game at Gen Con, and then on like Saturday evening, I realized the designer was there. It's charcuterie. So I was like sitting here listening, and when Whitney was talking, and I was like, oh, wow, that's so wild.
It is.
Like getting to know people in the community is like the most important part for me.
Well, Jenna did such an amazing job. She would just email us, who we talk to Jenna the most this way. But like for us, it was very easy. Like we didn't really have to do anything because Kelly and Jenna they were so superb at what they were doing. They took care of everything. We just had to answer a few emails, and they just said, come hang out, have fun, meet some of the designers of these awesome board games, and they're creating new ones. And so just have fun playing their games and enjoy yourself.
What about you, Shelley?
Pretty much what Rachel said. Jenna was main contact for me as well, that the emails went back and forth, and it was just kind of showing up, much like, I'm going to say Queen Rachel, because that's what I called her during the weekend to differentiate between the two. Much like Rachel, I really enjoyed, the little crown. I really enjoyed meeting everyone in the community and playing their games, not just games that they had already designed, but also play testing their games that weekend and just hearing about their process and what they had done and what they were working on was just really exciting.
Yeah. So I know that this whole weekend was focused on women, female designers in the industry, not only those that have already published, but maybe those that are just starting out in the field. So let's talk about what happened over the weekend. What did you guys plan as far as workshops, seminars? Like, what was the experience for the attendees that got to go? And Jenna, I'll toss it to you for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was really important for us that we had people from all sorts of different ranges and experience levels at the retreat so we could learn from one another. So we had people who were just starting to think about starting their game design journey to, as we talked about, mentors who design games that you might know and love, like Wormspan and Charcuterie and Creature Comforts. And so throughout the weekend, we structured it so that there was not too much structure. There was plenty of time to enjoy the ranch, or at least I hope that everyone got to enjoy the ranch as much as they hope to. But then also there were times where we could get together for scheduled play testing, make sure that everyone who had a game to play test got it played. We had workshops that were hosted by different mentors. So it was talking about things like, what are obstacles that you faced? How did you deal with them so that we can help each other overcome those obstacles? We had a big event towards the end as well, where we had each of the publishers take speed pitches. So we went around the ranch, and each of the designers who wanted to, whether they had a game that they felt was polished or they just wanted to practice, they got to pitch their games to each of the publishers. So if they had never done it before, they got to do their first 3 pitches in an environment that I hope was really safe and comforting for them as well.
Yeah, Kelly, what about you as far as I know that the pitching was one of the big hopes for the weekend, not only to build the network of female designers, but also to kind of like break down the barriers for those wanting to tap into the industry and giving them opportunity to practice before they would actually go to a convention. So how did those pitch sessions go?
I think they went really, really well. And that's why we had the Rachels and Shelley and Jenna there as a kind of female representation from the publishers, because a lot of times as a designer, you actually, surprisingly, this is one of the first times I've seen pitching or gone to pitching events, and it was female focused, which was amazing to see. But that aside, when I talked to a lot of the participants, most all of them, this was their first time pitching ever. So they gave a lot of feedback stating that that was amazing to be able to experience for the first time, and also how they experienced it was really unique as well. And we got a lot of positive feedback from that. So I think it was really good practice for them.
That's awesome. What about you, Queen Rachel? I was going to say Queen Shelley. You're all queens.
I really enjoyed the pitching workshop that we did. I thought it was pretty cool to get to go around and learn everybody's game. There was one about Kelpies that I really enjoyed. I was like, I hope I'm saying it right. I've been looking into the lore of Kelpies, and I'm now obsessed.
Yes, me too.
Welcome to my world.
Thank you, Kelly.
From a queen game standpoint, I go to all these conventions all over the place, and we don't have women pitching. I think I have witnessed a woman pitch once, twice, and that's in the last 5 years. I mean, that's not okay. I know there are game designers out there. So what are we doing wrong? Do they not know that we're available? Are we doing something that intimidates them, scares them off, discourages in any way? We want to be more open and welcoming. We want your games. Bring them to us. So at anytime you see us at an event, we're taking pitches. Anytime you want to email us. Like we're definitely open for that. We want to put some games out there from women.
Did you get that feedback from the attendees that they said that they maybe attempted or have been struggling with just cracking that space
Not
open?
the women at the event. So I have been pushing this and asking everybody I've spoken to in the last 6 months, why aren't women pitching to us? But at the event, most of the women didn't have a lot of experience pitching at all.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I was just at Essen, and at the booth, we have a lot of people coming up with a card or just, hey, I have a game. Who do I talk to? I even had a couple of people, Rachel, come up to me and say, is Rachel here? Asking for you. And none of them were women. They were all men that were coming up
That's
with,
true.
I've got a game design. Do you have a moment to speak to me? And I'm like, well, the person isn't here right now, but here's where you can go to be able to submit for that. But yeah, none of them were women. And Essen was just a massive event this year. They sold out all the days, every single day. So it kind of surprised me too, after Camp Meeple and being in that environment where there was so many women designers there. I think there was 25 people total. So 20-ish, not including the publishers. It just kind of surprised me at an event, at a con that large, that there was no women coming up to our booth and saying, hey, I want to pitch a game, or who can I contact to pitch this game? It was crazy to me that it was all men.
So I think one of the big things that we were hoping for whether they participated in the pitching workshop or not, it is creating a connection that they felt comfortable with. Like you mentioned, they were asking for Rachel. We want, if you see us at a convention, like, hey, is Jenna here? I know that it's not maybe as comfortable to go up to someone you're unfamiliar with and put yourself out there like that. So hopefully just like knowing one of us, or even just knowing our names by watching this podcast, hopefully you feel just a little bit more comfortable saying, like, I know someone there that's going to support me, and we want to lift up your games and get them seen by the other people at our companies, and they want to see them. So please go out of your way, even if you don't feel like it's super polished. We want to see them, and we want to help you develop these games so we can get them out into the world.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know from the Rachels and Jenna and Shelley, did you guys, after having attended Camp Meeple, go back and have discussions inside your internal publishing team about what that experience was like, and maybe things that you all might change on the publisher side to entice more female designers?
Rachel and I talked the whole 2-hour drive back to the airport about.
We did.
Yeah,
we did. And then
the whole time we were talking about the women we met, what designs really stood out to us. Like she said, like she loved Kelpie. There was one about a bookshop, like books and reading book story, that I really liked as well. And we just talked about the whole experience. Like she dropped me off at the airport. We dropped off the car at the rental, and then we went our separate ways. I'm like, oh my goodness, I could have talked about this for like another 2 hours.
Yep. And then so like during the speed pitching, people had their brochures. And so I collected those, and then I scanned all of them, and I put them in an email, and I had taken tons of notes while I was there of just like my personal feedback, my thoughts on the games, just kind of, you know, the rough things that you see on BGG of each of the games. And then I met with Randall, our CEO, and I was just like, hey, here's all these. These are the ones that really stood out to me. These are the ones that are in the early process. But through time, we'll be able to really develop into a good, solid game. And these are the ones that are going to be finished within the next couple of months. And so being able to talk about that, and it was cool because like some of them were rich and thematic, and a heavier Euro game, because each of the publishing companies that were represented there have different styles of games that they like to publish, which was great because we're not in competition with one another. Like we were able to build a community and know, hey, Queen Games sells a certain type of games, so does Inside Up. Trying to make sure my hand goes the right way. And then as well as Eagle Gryphon Game, and what games are we known for? But just because we're known for certain games doesn't mean that we are only taking those games. And so choosing ones that we really thought would help even the image of our publishing company was also great to talk about with Randall.
And just to add super quickly, on top of sort of distilling all of the information that we got from the retreat, from the amazing attendees who were there, there have definitely been conversations with each of the publishers about how can we go out of our way to solicit to women and find the groups of women designers and let them know, hey, we're here and we want to listen to you. So for example, there's a group on Facebook that's ran by one of the attendees of the retreat, Pam Walls. It's called Board Game Besties. So we're also talking with Pam about ways that each of the publishers, and even publishers who aren't directly part of this retreat, can get in touch with that group of women and that untapped potential that's just sitting in that Facebook group.
Yeah. Just to add one more thing about that, networking is vital, right? And networking is a huge hurdle for anyone trying to jumpstart into any kind of creative field, board game design especially. And I think this retreat was a great example of like how to be a catalyst for that. So we have this big group of people from all different walks of life, all different areas of the world. We had people from out of the US attend. So having this diverse group of women, now we're all reaching out to each other. Like I've made so many contacts through them, and we can, hey, do you know someone at this publishing company that you can get me in touch with. Like, that's happening now. And that if that keeps happening, it's going to keep growing, and the reach will be so much better.
Yeah, one of the things I loved was just the idea that it's not just like it's a benefit for both sides. Both the attendees got a lot of rich experiences, but the publishers also used it as kind of a listening space to like understand what it means for them and what they can do differently moving forward in the future. So I love that it was a win-win on both sides.
I
So
also
oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I also think, though, it was also great because a lot of times I feel like there's this separation between publisher and designer. And it was a great way during this retreat to build like a bridge of just, hey, we're all people and we want to sit down and play games with each other. And it's not that we're just publishers, like we also love board games as well. And so it was really cool just to sit down until 11, 12 at night and play games, and then like wake up early in the morning and get these little stickers that say, you know, early riser. And I got that on the last day, I think it was, but I did. And so
you earned it.
I did. And so it was just a great way to just have this community where outside of that, we kind of fit in our roles of publisher and designer.
I'm bummed I missed it. I was so
We're bummed
upset.
too.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to make the next one. But what have you guys heard from participants? What feedback have you gotten other than them stalking you down at Essen or asking you by name? What have you heard of how rich it was for the attendees?
I can go.
Yeah.
Overall, the feedback was incredibly positive. Many of the participants expressed a desire for more events like this in the future. I think everybody said that they would come again. The most common theme in the feedback that I noticed, maybe Jenna can elaborate more, was probably the sense of community it created, the support it really fostered. Many participants expressed that they left the retreat with not just like enhanced skills from all of our workshops and talks and events, but so a lot of knowledge, but also with like lasting connections that they will continue to stay in touch with as they advance in their board game design careers. So it was overwhelmingly positive.
That's awesome. Rachel, what about you from Queen Games? What have you guys have heard so far?
So far, everything has been very positive. I've really not heard from like the general feedback. I've only heard from the people that I met there that I've kept in contact with. Sorry, there's a cat like attacking me. But it's all been really good stuff. They said that they enjoyed the workshops, they enjoyed the atmosphere, they enjoyed the community building projects that we did. I mean, just getting to sit down and have meals with these people was very, very helpful.
Did you guys see a lot of like collaboration happening between designers where people like, oh, because I know there was some play testing going on. And I imagine that there were just like folks feeding off of that like generative idea space.
It was a very motivating and inspirational like vibe the whole weekend. So I went as Queen Games and I ended up working on a game myself because I got it in my head. I was like, I've been thinking about this idea for forever. I'm going to sit down and work on it. We got these cool notebooks that came in very handy. I'm sitting at the kitchen island, like designing a game. That was not my plan, but it happened. And I'm actually going to be pitching it. I've got to make a video for it next week and send it in. I'm doing the Hasbro Women of Innovations contest thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
I'm excited.
That's amazing. I am so excited. I want to see your video when you put it together too, just because
I have eaten a lot of chocolate chips.
It sounds like so much fun.
Why chocolate chips?
Chocolate chips on the cookies in the game. And so
okay, not like physical. Like
little
stress.
bits. I've just been using real chocolate chips, and then I eat them when I'm done.
That makes sense.
For working.
It's like zero waste. It's great.
But to add to that, I will say, and this is one of the big things that we got for feedback from the retreat too, is just about the support system that was created and formed through this. So I feel really proud about sort of the structure that we put in place, but it's really just the people who attended the retreat who made it what it was. So we set up, for example, a structure of having some people volunteer to be mentors, and then people signed up who wanted to be mentees, and then we paired them up based on the games that they were designing and their experience levels. And we made it very freeform, where they could talk to their mentor about specific design obstacles that they were facing. They could play test around of a game and then get the mentor's thoughts. Whatever they felt would be most beneficial to them is how they could use their time. And the mentors really went above and beyond. So there was a mentee who came with just sort of like a sketch of their game board that they were thinking about, and they met up with their mentor, and they spent 4+ hours just talking through their ideas, and then the mentor would write it down on the board. They were like, great, now there's a work replacement spot for that. Great, let's do it. And they came out ready to be able to pitch during our speed pitching. And I don't know about you guys, but I was so impressed by I wouldn't have known if I hadn't been there a weekend that they came with basically a blank sheet of paper and came out with that game. And there's other stories like that. People like Rachel who had a spark for a game idea, and now they're following up on it, and now it's a real game that you can pitch. Or there was someone who woke up with the idea of a karaoke game in their brain after having a dream, and they put it together with our little prototyping supplies, and they had it play tested a few times before the weekend was over, and we even played it at the airport on our way home.
That's awesome. It's true.
Yeah.
And when she says like little prototyping supplies, no,
it was
Jenna
huge.
had an entire like 8-foot long table full of everything you could possibly need to make a board game and more. It was amazing.
It was very
and all
handy.
The publishers, like, they raided their warehouses and they came in clutch with the prototyping supplies. Like, so many amazing pieces from games that you probably like might recognize from some of the publisher libraries. So if you see a bunch of fishing games in the next year, it's courtesy of Eagle Gryphon's prototyping supplies that they sent, but I'm sure they'll all be amazing games.
Everyone went home with a big bag of fish.
Yes, I
did. Shelley, what about you? What were some of the inspiring moments that stood out for you over the weekend?
I think it's a lot of what other people were saying. Like, it's amazing to sit there and watch the mentors and the mentees. Like Jenna went into Jenna went into really in depth about how there was that one person that basically came with the blank piece of paper, and by speed pitching was pitching a game, which was amazing. And just how supportive everybody was, and how friendly and how nice, and everyone was just there to help everybody out and test your game or play your game, giving advice. It was really amazing to see such a strong community among everybody, because I know there were some people that came in and knew each other, but mostly no one knew each other. And by the end of the weekend, everyone was like a family and just so close and friendly with each other.
That's awesome.
And I was like, saw some of them later. Like there's a few people that were at Essen that I got to see again, which was really nice. Cause like, oh my goodness, hey. So it was really, really awesome.
Kelly, were there any standout moments for you from attendees?
Yeah, I remember one moment in particular that kind of like made me like the hairs stick up on the back of my neck. I was walking, there was a really big space in the board gaming area, which is a giant space with lots of tables and thousands of games. But there was one moment when we were doing our playtest sessions and every table was full of a prototype. And that was just really cool to see. Like, I don't think I've ever been in a room with that many women game designers all playing each other's prototypes. And that was just a really cool thing to see. And I got to play so many of those prototypes as well. And they were good. I'm really excited about a lot of these games, and I hope I see them on my shelf eventually.
That's awesome. Anybody else want to share any other inspiring stories? There's probably
It
too
was
many to
us
name.
our entire-
It
Yeah.
was like everything that everyone already said. Like, it was really cool to see even just like the community of designing the games. Like, you'd walk by and there are like 3 or 4 ladies helping the one person designing their game. They're sitting down playing it. Someone has their computer out writing the rules. The other person is, like she said, drawing out the stuff on the board. Or like, it was really cool just to see the discussion and say, well, this mechanic doesn't work, but have you thought of this mechanic? Let's try it this way. And then they would just start playing it. And so it was just really cool to see the in action kind of play testing and changing the designing process over the whole entire weekend.
Mm-hmm. I imagine that's the benefit of getting that many people that are
Designers.
creating
Yes.
together, is you're using everybody's like working geniuses and tapping into like skill sets and just sharing it all. And the fact that you all created such a space for that to be welcoming and people feeling safe to do that is like huge. That's huge to do. So I don't want us to not mention that just the atmosphere and the culture you all created is probably one of the biggest reasons it was so successful. So everyone should be like, yay, you guys did such a good job. All right, I want to end on this final question. So having experienced Camp Meeple and thinking about the future of the gaming industry and really attracting more female designers, for those of the folks that are watching or either listening who are aspiring game designers, Queen Rachel is one of them. What advice would you give to those listening thinking about how to tap into or crack open the gaming industry? And Kelly, I'll start with you. You kind of mentioned networking already, but what else would you like to share?
Sure. I think I could think of a couple. Be resilient. So resilience is key. Rejection and setbacks and learning which games fit with which publishers. It's all part of the journey. Collaboration, join or even form communities that support women in gaming. There are lots of them on Facebook. I joined a new one that I didn't know about after the retreat. So that's really helpful. Maybe continue learning. The game industry is always evolving and there's always new trends, and just keeping up with those trends. So stay curious, keep learning, whether through education or workshops or self-study. The more you know, the more versatile you're and effective you will be as a designer.
I love that. That's awesome. Shelley, what about you?
Kelly had a really good one. Just keep being resilience, right? Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Right. If you see me at Essen, which is probably the only con you'll see me at, unless you live in Calgary, because the only other one I go to is a local con. But if you see one of us at a con, don't be afraid to come up and say hi. We're very friendly people. We're very open. If we don't have time in that moment, I know Eagle Gryphon Games has an email that we can give you to submit a game pitch to. Come and say hi, talk to us. I know at Essen I had moments where I stopped and took 5 minutes from demoing games to talk to people that came up to me to ask me stuff or talk about their game. I'm always happy to talk to someone and put you in contact with the right person that can get you going in the direction. And now after being at Camp Meeple, I know so many other people that if I don't have the answer, I can kind of direct you to them. But yeah, resilience is like a really good one. Don't give up. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
All right, Rachel, so I'll let you fight over it.
Reach out. If you've got questions, please ask us. If I can't answer it, I can ask someone who has got an answer. I can get you in contact with the right resources. We want game designers to be talking to each other. That's why we're building this community.
That's awesome.
I mean, during the event, we did tell people, just make sure you continue to play test your game, get other people outside of your circle to play test your game. Even with the blind play test, be there. That was Shelley's big thing when we were at the event, of telling people, when you're blind, like when you have people blind test your game, be there and take notes, like see how they're playing your game and see if they're playing it the way that you wrote the rule book, or maybe they're playing it better based on the rules that they're like the way that they're reading the rules, even if that is not how you intended the rules to be written as well. And so that was the biggest thing I took away from Shelley was like, oh yes, like of course doing blind tests, because like with Vital, like he has tons of people play test his games and the blind tests. And so just continue to just ask people to play their games, play your games, and then play test their games, because then you can get inspired from other people's games. And like everyone else said, just it's the community of building with each other, of playtesting and playtesting their games.
All right, Jenna, what you got?
Okay, so everyone has said amazing things already, so listen to them because they know what they're talking about. I'm going to try to be a little bit different here. I'm going to say, just to be you and break the mold, something that you have as a secret advantage, your like secret superpower, as someone, I think anyway, who's underrepresented currently in board gaming, is that you have a voice and a story that has not been told by 1,000 other games, right? This is how we get fun themes, and this is how we get new people into the gaming community, is by sharing our unique perspectives and blending our hobbies. Like if you think about bird watching and gaming, that probably wouldn't have come about without Elizabeth Hargrave kind of saying like, hey, this is something I really enjoy, and I'm going to mix these two hobbies together and come up with a game. And she's inspired so many bird watchers to join the gaming community, and vice versa. Board gamers now know about bird watching and they're super into it. So you have a unique perspective, and that's what we're looking for. We want games that we have not seen before, but that are going to welcome new people into our space. So really lean into what makes you you, what makes your perspective unique. And then outside of that, once you get your game to the table, that's one of the big things, is like getting it to the table, even if it's on index papers and mechanical pencil, right? Just get it to the table, get it played, and then be accepting of feedback when it comes your way, and also be very open to sharing your feedback with others who are on the same journey as you.
I love it. We should just like cut that question into like a soundbite and like share it with everyone who's wanting to be inspired as a designer. So I'm sure the folks watching are wondering, like, everything has been sounding so good. I wish I could have gone. Is there going to be another Camp Meeple in the future? And I'm not sure who's going to be able to answer that question.
I'll go ahead.
Okay.
I'll say yes, for sure. Camp Meeple was such a success, not just for us as the publishers, but I really feel like the attendees who had a chance to attend our first Camp Meeple came out with some amazing takeaways and networks and just had a really fun time. So everyone who's been involved in the project so far.
Oh no.
Where'd Jenna go? She went to Camp Meeple.
We got I found her.
Oh. I don't know where I cut off, but we are currently in the planning stages of Camp Meeple 2025. So if you are interested, we want to see you there. Please check out this QR code. You can just let us know your name, your email, and then as soon as applications open up for the next Camp Meeple, we will let you know.
That's awesome. Well, kudos to all the publishers, everyone involved in A.T.O.M, David at the Gamers Ranch for wanting to host this. It sounds like it did its job into what it intended to do as far as create space for those attendees. So thank you all for joining me. And with that, we'll end. And again, Jenna, Shelley, Rachel, Queen Rachel, Kelly, thank you so much for
Christina didn't
yeah,
say it,
Christina.
so much planning ahead. Even though she wasn't able to attend in person, she was amazing throughout the entire process too.
Yeah.
So thank you, Christina.
Well, I loved being part of this because just hearing what you all saw happen at Camp Meeple inspired me to be like, this is on the right track, right? To think about how we can shift the industry for female designers. And I just love it. So thank you all so much. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, I'm sure they'll be able to find you and your contact information. So enjoy and go on and game forth, we will say. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.